Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. It is time to finally have a look at the Moments of Valor for the Philippines. This is something which has been in the files for a while, or at least the skins for this event have been in the files for a while. And finally, Guardian has released the video which accompanies them. So, if you don't know about the Moments of Valor series, it's basically a cinematic series that Guardian has done about some nations that aren't always massively represented in War Thunder, and they use it as an opportunity to teach people a little bit about their history and also add some pretty cool stuff to the game. I really like it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's really cool. And as we kind of see here, they're kind of doing the same thing. So, along with the special video, which we'll be having a look at in a little bit, they've also brought in a pack, which is going to be available for at least a little bit. You can see the bundle is going to be available until the 16th of April at a 50% discount. And what you get in it is you get the Sabre Skyblazer or the F-86 F-35 in the American tech tree with the Philippine Air Force Sabre 468 camouflage. You also have the F-5C, which you can get in this with the Philippine Air Force Blue Diamonds Aerobatic Team camo, and the Stuart 6 5th CAD pack with its own camouflage too. You also get a unique decal, which we had a look at yesterday in the data mine, and also a unique title, the Protector of the People. Now, this bundle is 50% off if you want to purchase it. All of these vehicles are fine in their own meta, by the way. The Steward is fantastic as a starter vehicle for the American tech tree. The F5C is always very fun to fly, a very nice platform, which is only limited slightly by its weaponry. And then the F-86 F-35 is in an okay place, especially since they down BR'd it. Still not in probably the best premium area, but I think this pack is worth it just for these two. But if you want to pick this up, I'll leave a link in the description and also in a pinned comment to check it out. Also, there is a bunch of other stuff which is going on too. You can see here all three of the packs are available separately at a 30% discount. So if you only want the individual vehicles, such as the Stuarts, then you can do. And you can also get the Philippine Eagle and the Protector of the People title if you already have all of the vehicles, and also play 3 battles with each of them from the 9th of April to the 16th. So you can get this without having to purchase the pack, which is quite nice. They also added a bunch of different camouflages to the files. So you have, of course, the F-86, you have the F-5C, the M113A1, I believe it's the Italian one. Yeah, that gets the Philippine Civic Action Group. Now, all of these are for GE, so yeah, you're going to have to purchase them. The Bulldog gets one. This is the American Bulldog, and the Bulldog already has a really nice, I think it's a Dutch skin or a Danish skin. Looks super nice. The Scimitar also gets one. The Sherman, and of course the Stuart. So none of these camos really stand out as, crazily amazing, but they're all beautiful in their own way in a historic fashion. And for me, I think that's one of the most important things, getting a bunch of camos which look nice in terms of just the history part of it. It kind of sucks that you can't grind them out. They're all just available for Golden Eagles, but once again, it's nice to see that another nation is represented in War Thunder. So let's have a look at the vehicle, not the vehicle, sorry. Let's have a look at the video itself. I will say this time the video is a lot less I suppose, there's not as much to it, but I don't think there needs to be, because when it comes to the Filipino history, especially in terms of combat over the last 150 years, there's some incredibly key events in it, especially when it comes to the Second World War. And in this one, they have decided that they're going to kind of show one of those areas. So it's a narrative based one, and they talk about this individual and mimicking his performance, and basically they talk about kind of like how they want to become him. So who is this? Jesus, or Jesus Villamor. Jesus Villamor is one of the heroes of the Philippines during the Second World War. He is a person who was a pilot in the Second World War, who fought not just for, of course, the Philippines, but also for America, since, of course, America was kind of the protectorate of the Philippines at the time. And when the Japanese decided to invade the Philippines, he ended up with some of his squad mates defending the Philippines in, I believe they were called the 6th Pursuit Squadron. And the thing about good old Jesus is the fact that they were heavily outnumbered, they were heavily outgunned, but he and his squadron were able to basically massively outperform the Japanese. Remember, when it comes to the Japanese, one of the things that you always hear about in terms of the Japanese is that at the start of the war, they were incredibly well trained. They were well experienced. These pilots were the cream of the crop. They also had some of the best equipment in the form of the A6Ms and even, the long range bombers, the G4s that were being used. And when it came to stuff such as the Philippines, where they weren't exactly massively well equipped. They were using P shooters, the P-26s, and also at the same time, they had just started getting more American support. So in B-17s and stuff like that. But B-17s at that time were more used for reconnaissance roles instead of kind of bomber roles. So one of the things that Villamor was able to do with his comrades was, in those early stages of the invasion of the Philippines, fight off a lot of Japanese fighters and also bombers. And to be honest, everybody was just like, how the hell are you guys doing this? Because, everybody else was having a pretty rough time. But even though they ended up being able to fight off and score many successes against Zeros and against stuff like G4s and many of these other things, they had to eventually retreat, right? They had to leave because they were still massively outnumbered. So what ended up happening with good old Villamor and his men, they eventually left the Philippines and went to Australia. And in Australia, he actually ended up becoming a flight instructor, basically teaching people how to fight stuff like Zeros and how to fight the Japanese. And then he was used on basically intelligence missions where he went back to the Philippines as kind of a person to be a liaison between the American forces and also the guerrilla forces that were fighting for the independence of the Philippines. So overall, he just has a really interesting story because he is somebody who defied the odds. He is a person who was able to fight the enemy with basically worse weaponry and worse vehicles, but at the end of the day, still come out on top. And people love stories like that. And that's why he's being honored in this video. Now, what we see in this video, which we just showed, obviously the F5Cs. But one of the things that I've got to say is there's a massive contrast in this video, and it's a positive contrast. When you have a look at that video about the modern infantry, which I know a lot of people were really interested in, right? And I'm sure Gadget will do something around that. People were really hyped about it. One of the things that you'll notice when you have a look at all the faces, they are drones, right? They just don't have any emotion. And this is something that Enlisted has a problem with too. The faces really struggle with emotion. Whereas in this video, whoever was editing it or animating it was able to actually subtly give the models actual expression, which is, incredibly important. And I think actually really cool. And that's basically what you see here, which I think is really interesting. Like whether it's just with the eyebrows, as you can see here, or whether it's, with the facial movements, it's just a lot better than it was previously. And I think that's really pretty cool to see. So, as we talked about when it came to the history, this is basically, what they're showing. The sixth pursuit squadron going after the Japanese, and then they juxtapose, there we go, that's the word, against a modern training combat mission where it's an F-16 versus an F-5, where the F-16 should win, but the superior skill comes out of it. It is always funny when you do the Top Gun stuff where it's not about the plane, Maverick, it's about the pilot. Like it's well, maybe until we have the good old modern day stuff. The modern day stuff just scares me in terms of what you're able to do in an aircraft. But yeah, there is also some stories of Villamor which I should talk about, where some of the earliest engagements that they had with Zeros, basically he was being attacked and he went so low to the ground that a Zero thought that he had crashed into it because it was basically like treetop level. He'd like gone under power lines to get away from the Zero, so one just left him, and then he was like, "Okay, I'll pull up and get away from this." And then another Zero jumped on him, right? And then what he did was he basically did a 180 and then just hammered him with the guns. And the Zero could not believe the maneuverability of the P-26 and ended up just getting smashed by him. So that is one of the stories of this guy. And, obviously, just like any piece of media, I'm sure it's gone through many iterations and, made it look better and look worse. But yeah, it generally is kind of interesting to see. Now, you can also look at pretty much like all of this area, right? And the only thing that to me kind of stands out, if we can go back here a little bit, is when you have a look at all of this stuff, you have, I believe this is a Crusader, right? It looks like a Crusader. I'm pretty sure it's a Crusader. Um, but that camo didn't make it into the game, which is really weird. Maybe yeah, it is a Crusader. Look, you can see it right here. So yeah, the Crusader, which is in this video, I don't know what happened with the camo, but yeah, it's not there, which just seems a little bit odd since it's in the footage. So maybe that's not a Crusader, which is in the game. Maybe that's a different Crusader. I don't actually know if the Philippines used a Crusader. I should probably check. I thought the Crusader was just of a more of an American thing. But I can just check really quick. Oh no, the Philippine Air Force did have the F-8 Crusader, so it's definitely that what we're seeing. But maybe that's a vehicle that comes in the future. Maybe that's something that they put in these videos. One thing I will say about these Moments of Valor videos, they do screw about. And this is a video I've wanted to make for a while, but I've never really fit it in. This is probably a good opportunity to talk about it, but we'll talk about it on the weekend as well. So if you have a look at some of the previous Moments of Valor, they added the LAV-25 into the Australian one. They added a fuel a fuel plane in another one. They obviously added the Vanguard, the submarine in another one. All of these things are not actually like gadget models, or at least the Vanguard might be, but the other two definitely weren't, because they were assets which were bought in other areas, and you can tell because the quality is so much less than the others. The LAV-25 in the Australian video, you can actually see how low quality it is if you increase the brightness. Whoever edited that video realized that it would be very obvious that that wasn't up to standard, so they had to they had to reduce the lighting, so therefore you couldn't see what was there. And that is kind of like a little editing trick that you can do, because the more bright you make something, the more obvious it is, and therefore the easier it is to tell how screwed up it is. So yeah, it's just a little thing to kind of mention. But this video is really well made. It looks beautiful. It tells a lovely story, and I hope what it did is it kind of helped people have a first foot in the door of the Filipino Army and Air Force and Naval Forces, because the Philippines is a huge country. And I don't know how many people know, but the Philippines has basically a similar population to America. No, it doesn't. Sorry, that's bad. It it has 114 million people in it. For some reason, I was thinking it has 300, but it has a third of the population of America in a very very small area. And that's a lot of people, and it's really nice to see them represented, similar to Vietnam, which has 100 million people, and hopefully they can get themselves in a Moments of Valor too, because even though they have more of a turgid history, it's one that should definitely be kind of talked about and gone through. But it's lovely to see the Philippines represented. Make sure to check out the packs and the camos. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.